Welcome into On Texas Football. Time for Talkin' Ball on Monday night, brought to you by our friend Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. Jerry, you are checking in from the road. Let's get it started and start there. You were at Chaminade Madonna High School. The running back, Derek Cooper, who some believe is the number one running back in the country. Did he do anything to dispel that myth today in your eyes, Jerry?
Nah, I don't think so. And by the way, right now they're having him and his family are having an in-home with Chad Scott. Texas running back coach was at practice today, and I think they're doing it at home right now. Weather is gnarly out here in South Florida tonight, but was scheduled to be in home, I think, around 8 tonight. But now, I mean, look, I think we have some producer Matt has some video. He is every bit of 6'1", 210, 212 right now. I said when he walked up for his unofficial visit, he looked big. And it's a good big. You know, Bobby, one of the interesting things about him, and I was waiting by the way, the running back coach there is Sean Shivers, who played at Chaminade Madonna, played at Auburn. Really good player. Scat back, had some real jets, like 10, 4, and 100 meters. He's the second-year running back coach there. So that's really good for Derek Cooper. There you see Derek Nix from Auburn videoing. I was on the other side videoing. Chad Scott's behind me. Auburn had two coaches there today. They're trying to get him on campus. But look, Derek Cooper and team, look, he can run outside zone. I'm sure Sark's fallen in love with the video that Chad Scott took today. He had an 80-yarder, and it was full contact. They had about a 75, 80-yarder in team on an outside zone play where he saw it and really hit the accelerator. But the thing I was wanting to see with Coop, because he was a taller running back, is how long his arms were. And because long arms is hard to pocket a football, but he's about a neutral +1. On bigger backs, I like shorter arms on bigger backs. 9+ inch hands, obviously, but shorter arms, because like Adrian Peterson had such long arms he could never pocket a football correctly. And I'm not comparing them as players, but I like that Derek Cooper is probably +1 in his arm length. I think it's a natural pocket of the football, and he's going to be 225 pounds and just built up now. Got really good hands, good route runner, willing pass pro. He stoned a guy today in team. Look, I think Georgia, Texas, Miami, Ohio State is getting an OV, Alabama. But it wouldn't shock me based on everything I heard after the visit and heard a little bit today. He told me we'll have a video a little bit tomorrow on part of our recruiting breakdown. He's definitely going to officially visit Texas. There's no question. The in-home tonight's about kind of when that's going to happen. Will they shuffle weekend visits, or will it be a midweek visit? We'll see. Obviously, Sark prefers the weekend visit, and Texas does under Sark, but we'll see, because he has had these visits locked in for a while. But I think Texas is going to be right there for Derek Cooper. I'll be surprised if they aren't. Look, is he number one? Is Xavier Crowell number one? I don't know. I know this. If you get one of those two guys, any college that gets those two guys, they're extremely happy. I will say this guy runs outside zone really well.
Got it. That is Derek Cooper. Jerry Hamilton with some breaking news there. Currently having an in-home visit with Texas running backs coach Chad Scott, newly hired by Steve Sarkisian away from West Virginia. Scott has recruited Florida for years, obviously taking an interest in the number one running back, or one of the top running backs in the country. And hopefully Texas getting that official visit lined up today or tonight. If that's the case, it'll probably be announced what day that is tomorrow at some point. All right, Jerry, we're going to talk a little bit more recruiting. And note to everybody out there watching or tuning in, make sure you ask questions. We'll get right to them as quickly as we can on this edition of A Talking Ball. Before we do that, though, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. Special thanks to Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute for sponsoring On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages. Specializing in musculoskeletal health, Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacement. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. Get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Again, 512-856-1000. Talk to Dr. Brett Robin and his staff. Get set up with an official visit. There we go. You have something for me, Jerry?
I do. I need to send out a special congratulations because it's been a really rough run, even though I kind of agreed with the trade. But congrats to Dallas Mavs fans. You got the #1 pick in the lottery with 1.8% chance, and you get Cooper Flag in Dallas. So order your Cooper Flag jerseys now. Dallas Mavs fans, breathe a little sigh of relief there. They got a multi-year all-star in Cooper Flag, and a guy that the Mavs fans are going to love.
I was going to say it's also a franchise in need of a face.
Yes.
Given what their GM decided to do earlier this year. All right, let's go ahead and start get some questions here, if y'all don't mind. Let's go straight to living rent-free in UT. It's hard for me to believe UGA, Georgia, has enough NIL firepower to land Jared Curtis, Jackson Cantwell, Tyler Atkinson, and Derek Cooper. Is it too hard for you to believe that, Jerry?
No, it's not for me. I mean, it depends on, so much is up in the air with the house settlement and everything, but now it may limit the size of a class if you went all in on like 5 or 6 players and said, these are our guys. But I get where living rent free is going. But we'll see. I think those are, if you're going to go big, those are 4 really good ones to go big on.
I'm not surprised by anybody's ability at this point to do that. I'm just not. Let's see if everything stays that way, though, subsequent to the house settlement, if that actually becomes the rule of law. Hey, Jerry, we've got a couple other questions I want to get to real quick. Let's start with, let's get to this one, and then I've got some other news I want to talk about. Living Rent Free also asks, is Texas looking to land 3 wide receivers commit this cycle? Is it realistic for them to be Chris Stewart, Jalen Lott, and Jermaine Bishop? A scout said Bishop could be the most prolific slot wide receiver in the class.
I agree with that. I agree with that on Bishop as a slot receiver. I think he's tremendous playmaker, just great with the ball, shifty, super quick, super twitched up kid. I don't know. I doubt that'll be the 3, but we'll see. Look, Aaron Gregory, the A&M commitment's right there. Caden Finley, I think, is right there for Texas. There's going to be about 6 options there for Texas, and who the 3 they walk away with. Will Chris Stewart stick with Texas or really go play with his brother? We'll have to see there on that one as well. The thing about that is Chris Stewart's June 20th, Jermaine Bishop's June 20th, Jalen Lott's June 13th, Caden Finley's June 20th, Aaron Gregory and Jabari Mack are also June 13th. Those are your 6 guys right now. Mason James also scheduled to come in June 13th. So technically 7 official visitors at wide receiver. And I do think that Chris Jackson's going to might take a look at a couple of other in-state guys here. One that, obviously one just committed to SMU. It's a long way until signing day. And the kid at Waxahachie who decommitted recently is kind of blown up with colleges. So we'll see if they add another to this OV list come June.
All right. There have been some good things happen over the last couple of weeks on the University of Texas campus. Nothing bigger, in my opinion, than what happened this past weekend. 13,000 roughly graduates of the University of Texas. So congratulations to that crop. Matt, our producer, I sent you a tweet that I wanted to bring up if you get a chance to real quick. Jerry, you'll remember this name, Devontae Davis. I love it when I see this happen.
Oh, wow.
Devontae Davis, a Charlie Strong era recruit out of South Florida, Miami area, re-enrolled at the University of Texas and came back this past semester and got his degree.
Great for him.
Absolutely. Look at that little one right there with him. So congratulations. I know we focus a lot on the Cole Hudsons or the Hayden Connors or whoever that gets their degree, right? That just finished school. And we don't put enough on the guys that come back to school.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And so I just want to say hat tip to you,
And,
Devontae.
and it's one thing if it's the guys, from the state of Texas, right? After TJ Ford was done playing, he came back and finished his degree. But this is a guy from Miami Southridge, right? Where was he? I'd have to look and see where he's been living.
Yeah.
Was he living in Texas or did he move back to Florida? If he moved back to Florida and then made the decision to come back to Texas to graduate, really double hat tip there. Because the in-state guys, that play and they're going to live around Austin once they're done, they're always going to be around the university. That's one thing. But if he was living in Miami area, if he was living in Florida, and if somebody in the chat, I'm sure, can tell us, but if he was living in Florida, came back to finish school, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. Anytime young men that have gone their route, whether it's the NFL, the CFL, or whatever, and kind of run out of their window, for lack of a better term, of getting of a playing window, they come back and get their degree. I think that's part of what it's all about. So I wanted to mention that in this afternoon's or this evening's show as well. Victor Santiago here, Jerry, says, seems we are everywhere when it comes to running back recruiting. Which two RBs would be the best fit for our offense? I think Jerry and I, if you don't mind me answering a little bit piece of this, Jerry, would agree that Texas wants two, and they want them to be somewhat different. And that has been the MO of Sark from day one. He doesn't want two of the same types. He wants one guy that's more that can run behind and be that inside zone guy. He wants another one that can take the top off of defense or beat somebody one-on-one out in the flat. That, in a simple dump down to a pass. So, Victor, I think they've kind of identified who they want for that second piece, right, Jerry? And KJ Edwards out of Carthage. The other one is kind of up in the air.
Awesome. Yeah.
You got it back?
Yeah. Like I said, we're having some rough weather.
Yeah. The other one other than KJ Edwards, the other one is kind of the one that's up in the air, whether that's Derek Cooper, Xavier Crowell, Amari Latimer, Carson Baker. There's another guy that pops up during the football season.
Yeah.
But they want two different kinds. Victor, I think one of them for sure is KJ Edwards because he fits that one type of role. The other one, they're rolling the dice because they're all among the top handful of running backs in the country. And so Texas doesn't have, because they're not in-state players, they don't have a lead or a in, so to speak.
Yeah, and I would say somebody, it might have been Living Rent Free, asked this last week, and I can't remember. Living Rent Free, you'll let me know if it was you. One of the things I was told maybe Sunday was that Amari Latimer, who's scheduled to visit Texas, is the least likely to end up at Texas or visit Texas. I think that was Living Rent Free that asked me that. I did some check at, and it seems like Wisconsin may be the winner for Amari Latimer.
Wow.
He has a brother that plays up there, even though he had two uncles that played at Miami. But see, Miami's all in on Derek Cooper. So there's kind of a pecking order being established right now. And Wisconsin has made Latimer their guy. And I don't think Miami or Texas has done that.
Yeah. Well, probably for a reason, if you want to know the truth, right? Probably for a reason. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Jose Rodriguez. Appreciate you very much. Jerry, I've been out of the loop. Who are the top 5 uncommitted players that Texas needs in this class? Could be pipe dream players too.
Well, that's actually pretty easy. So if you just look, if you're talking about the guys who are just total difference makers, it would make, if you're looking at class rankings, I think it all kind of goes together with that. Mark Bowman, the 5-star tight end out of Mater Dei, is definitely one of those guys. He's just different to me. He is far and away the number one tight end, I think, in the country, and that's a Texas, Georgia, USC, Oregon, Alabama, your 5. But it's really, I think Texas or Georgia will get him. I'm a little different. So a lot of people would start naming offensive linemen. I'm not going to name the offensive linemen because Texas is going to get good players out of this group, whichever way it falls. They're all such high-level guys. I'm going a little different here. I'm looking at defensive linemen. Yeah, because I just know the offensive line is going to take care of itself. There's guys leaning to Texas. They won't get them all, but they're going to walk away with 5 really good players. So I'm looking more at Jalen Lott. Either Jalen Lott or Jermaine Bishop. One of those guys is a dynamic athlete. And I start looking at D-line. I mean, because it's not a great class nationally at D-line. So you have to win some battles, whether that's I think I've always said Jamion Winfield, maybe even over the OLs in the state for me, is kind of the musket guy. Now he's really locked in with USC right now. It'll go all the way through the season. So Jamion Winfield might be one of those guys for me because I think he's got elite D-line talent. And you start looking around. Kendall Gerville. I want to keep the Florida pipeline going. Braden Rouse, the linebacker. I mean, some people are going to say Xavier Griffin. USC's got their hooks in him a pretty good amount right now. I'm not saying he's going to sign with USC, but I'm looking more on the D line outside of tight end. And I'd probably throw Derek Cooper in there as well.
Well, I think those are all great players. So I don't really have much to add, to be honest, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, do you mention Jamion Winfield? And then you did, even though he's committed elsewhere. So it could be, even though he said uncommitted players, I think everybody understood where you were going with that. Jose Siciliano, if Trey Wisner has another 1,000-yard season, I think he goes pro. I think you're probably right, Jose. Assuming Cedric Baxter is number 1 next season, who do you think is more likely to transfer from the running back room? Too early to tell on that?
Too early to tell for me.
I think that Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson, if Baxter's back, I don't know. I mean, Sark rotates his backs enough, Jerry, to keep 2 happy.
Yeah.
So I don't know the answer on this one. I don't know the answer on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's too early. I think the season will tell you that because I don't care. There's not enough carries to go around for 5 running backs. So somebody at the end of the year is not going to be happy. And by the way, I think James Simon's really good. So James Simon's going to push the second-year guys. I think he's going to push the second-year guys. So I think games 2, 3, and 4 are going to be really big in the pecking order of where this thing goes this year, early in the season, setting up the SEC season. So when does CJ Baxter get back? When does CJ Baxter get back? And no matter if Gibson's 2 and Clark is 3 and Simon's 4, or Clark is 2, Gibson 3 is Simon 4 starting the season, I really think games 2, 3, and 4 may decide this thing as far as the pecking order goes. What do they do when they get in the games? Heading into your off week in Florida.
No. I wouldn't have a problem with that. So I think that's what you have those games for. Yeah. I mean, frankly, is to figure out what you've got. Thank you, Jose, for that. Kikuta, who reaches the higher number? Colin Simmons in sacks or Ryan Wingo in TDs? Jerry, given that you've gone in the 20 range on your sack prediction for Colin Simmons, I'm kidding somewhat.
14 and a half.
I think you got to go Simmons sacks here, even though I think Ryan Wingo may be the red zone target for the Longhorns this year.
Yeah, look, I would go Simmons sacks because, I mean, if Texas hadn't added Emmett Mosley and Jack injuries out of the portal, I'll be like, Ryan Wingo's going to get a lot of targets on third downs, red zones, and he still will. But there's more targets now for Arch. And I think Sark wants to spread the football around. I think he knows that when his offense is the most difficult, is when a defensive coordinator games plans against Texas said, boy, the tight end can beat us. Any of the 3 wide receivers can beat us. The running back can beat us. That leads me down the path of Colin Simmons, but I also think Colin Simmons is going to be the best defensive player in college football this year. And I might be wrong. That's my prediction.
Wow.
I just think he
You
is.
realize how big a word? I mean,
I
those
know.
are large words. Best in college football.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have that potential. Hey, Jerry, real quick, we were talking earlier for those people now joining us about 20 minutes into the show. Jerry went and saw Derek Cooper, nation's #1 running back, earlier today. Texas running backs coach Chad Scott was there. Scott also had a in-home visit scheduled with Derek Cooper for later today. Here's another Derek Cooper question, Jerry, that I'm not sure if it's been brought up, but will Cooper be a July 4th commitment? I think Jalen Lott's going to be on July 4th. Anything on Derek Cooper, though, in that regard?
I have not heard a date for Derek Cooper. He did not mention a date to me today. But Oregon's not on the list, so Josie in the chat can. It won't be a gender reveal commitment with green smoke. I can tell you that.
There we go. LL. Jerry, how are you feeling on Mark Bowman? You mentioned the tight end out of Santa Ana Mater Dei out in California that moved up his date. Texas and Georgia. It's been sounding like a 1-2 race between those two national powers. What is your take on that one at this point?
When he first reclassed, I was literally told that day, oh, this is going to be Texas or Georgia. Now he has 5 official visits set, USC, and we'll get it. We're going to get to that question on their class. But how many commitments they have now, because guys are going to starting to get cut. If you're not ranked high, you're about to get cut out of that class. But Oregon, USC, Alabama, your other 3 official visitors. I'll still be slightly surprised if it's not Texas or Georgia. It's not a SoCal family. Look, there's ties to Texas. They were living in Colorado. Then they moved out to SoCal. They actually, when they were considering where they were going to move for Mark for high school, when they realized how big time he was going to be, and they were looking to move, they looked at Austin Westlake, South Lake Carroll, and Mater Dei. Those are the 3 schools it came down to for them. So I'll just be surprised if it's not Texas or Georgia. I think it's been trending that way for such a long time. But we'll see if USC can pull an upset.
So you think USC's dark horse, essentially?
I think so.
Interesting. That's new name. Joe Osai. Jerry, any updates on Chase Collicutt, the safety linebacker type prospect, hybrid really, out of Houston's North Shore High School?
Somebody told me last week that he really likes Washington early on. We'll see if that holds, and we'll see who pushes hard for him, because Chase Collicutt's very interesting, really talented player, top 200 level prospect in the country. But is he a safety or is he a linebacker? And there's some people at North Shore have been coaching a long time and seen, 100 Division I players come through there that think he might be a linebacker long term. And they've seen them all come through. So we'll see on that. He has family that moved up, I believe, to the Portland area last year. So there's family in Oregon. There's family in the Pacific Northwest. But I've heard from somebody that would know that he really likes Washington. But am I saying he's going to commit to Washington? I'm not saying that. We're about to get to the June official visit process, so we'll see who's really going to make the push for him. Washington's making the push early, though.
I'm going to say this. There's been like 3 or 4 different teams with him in the last 3 or 4 months, too. At one point, it was Michigan State, right?
Yeah.
This Michigan. Is the hybrid kind of linebacker defensive safety prospect.
He has got a big – I don't know if you can tell in this video. He has got a big, long frame on him, and he hasn't even started to develop it. Now, he's 6'3" and almost 6'4", 195. This guy could be 230, 235 really easily, in my opinion. Like, he almost reminds you of a state of Florida kid that's just going to blow up physically once he gets to college. Doesn't run track maybe. Doesn't dabble in basketball, but he's a very talented player. But man, that frame has a lot of room to grow if it's strength and conditioning coach wants it to. You can tell there. I mean, you can tell there. I mean, he's a tall, long kid, almost
Absolutely.
6'4".
He likes to bring the hammer.
Yeah.
when he hits a little bit too. Kenneth Cassidy with a good question here, Jerry. Other than O-line, what position group is the strongest in the state this year? Also, which position is the weakest? Strongest in the state, besides O-line is definitely the strongest.
Yes.
I think that's a fair assessment. Second strongest in your opinion, Jerry?
You know, there is a lot of good running backs in this state this year. If you think this is a really good running back, you have KJ Edwards, obviously, who Texas is going after and love him. You have Tredarian Ball from Texas High committed to Oregon. You have Javian Osborne committed to Notre Dame. You have Jonathan Hatton from Cibolo Steel's very good. It's committed to A&M after backing out on Oklahoma. There's other running backs in this state too. I think running back Christian Rhodes, Lake Highlands, committed to SMU. Texas is taking a look at.
The Gross kid from was he at Frisco? Where's he at?
Yeah, oh, he wants to play wide out though. He trains with margin hooks. Carday Mack at Atascocita going to ASU. I mean, there's a lot of really good running backs in the state. So I would say running back and linebacker are better than normal as far as depth of talent in Texas. And so the scary thing about running back in this class this year, this is the type of class where, if you lined them all up, come out of high school, Ashton Janty might not have been in the top 3, 4, or 5.
Well,
as he wasn't the year he came out, right? And so what happens from there with the running back position? Because there's a kid at Lancaster who Texas has had down, Isaiah Lee, I believe, really good player. There's some depth. There's some depth at running back in this state that's a little better than it has been, in my opinion, as well as linebacker.
You mentioned linebacker. I'm going to add the 4 names that Texas has offered in the state. Koziak Paula out of Nady Creek and Katy. Tiason Ijiakwo from the new school up in Georgetown. Calvin Thomas out of Cy Ranch. And Tank King out of Port Arthur. Calvin Thomas today, Jerry, who goes at 6'3", 210, was offered by Georgia today. So that gives you a sense of, just how good maybe some of these linebackers are in the state. Tank King, you said earlier this week, or either earlier today or over the weekend, that he looked like he was leaning towards Notre Dame a little bit. So those are national level players.
And I'll say this. DeQuavies Beck at Carthage, very good, manned up at Oklahoma. The other linebacker at Carthage is one of the more underrated kids I've seen this year. He's committed to Texas State. It's a joke. I mean, he should be a Power 4 kid, like zero doubt. I mean, he may be a better athlete than Beck. But the linebackers got a lot of depth in this state too. I mean, it's easy. Wide receiver and offensive line always are in Texas. But the linebacker, there's a linebacker committed to Illinois from Denton Guyer. I'm already, right? Illinois, no matter what you think of them, they're ranked top 12 in the country right now. So that linebacker position has some real depth in Texas this year. There's going to be some guys there's a kid from Clear Falls committed to Utah. Utah guys normally end up pretty good from Texas on the defensive side of the ball. So there's the linebacker depth in this state's really strong.
All right. This one, Paul's asking, is there any significance to Jack Indries, the Cal tight end that transferred to Texas, not going to New Orleans with Arch, even though Jordan Washington went? No, there's not. Ryan Winga went. I don't think Emmett Mosley's there either.
I think Indries is still finishing up class as the main.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I mean, West Coast schools tend to finish after East Coast and Central schools. So, like, Texas is out of school right now. There are some colleges on the West Coast that are still in school, including my son, who doesn't have his final until Saturday this weekend. And now he's up in the north. But anyways, my point being, some of these guys, don't read anything into it. The better thing to read into there, Paul, we reported that this thing was going to happen last week, and then the rain got sidetracked on timing. Ryan Wingo's there. DeAndre Moore's also there, I believe. Jordan Washington. I don't know who all's there, but there were quite a few guys that were headed that direction. All right, this one from Living Rent Free. Jerry, Blaine Bradford committed to Ohio State, DB out of Louisiana. Did he shut down his recruiting entirely, or is he still taking a visit to Texas?
I don't think he's taking the visit to Texas, but I'll double check on that.
Okay, fair enough.
I think Devon Benjamin, I think at DB right now, you're looking at Hayward Howard, obviously committed, but you got to keep recruiting him because LSU they'll try to flip him just for the sake of trying to flip him, even if they only love him and don't really, really love him. And they do like him. They've been there and been calling every day. You have Samari Matthews at corner. You have Justice Fitzpatrick at corner. Then you get to Devon Benjamin as that kind of do-it-all defensive back. I think those are some guys to kind of focus on at defensive back right now. But I'll double-check on Blaine Bradford.
All right, Texas fan in Sooner Lane, your question is next. But first, I want to say thank you one last time to our sponsor, Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute, for sponsoring this episode of On Texas Football's Talking Ball. Dr. Robin, former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages, specializing in musculoskeletal health. Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. So if the knee is hurting, give him a call. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give him a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. Get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Before we get going, we got some other stuff coming here, but let's get to this question real quick, if you don't mind, Jerry. It seems the defense gets more talk than the offense. I feel Sark's offense will exceed expectations because of Arch and his ability to run. Thoughts? I will say that when Sark was hired, he thought it was going to be all offense. Not to take anything away from what he's done on offense, but man, the defense played really, really well last year, and they've got some real difference makers. To your point, Jerry, about Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, guys like that. They've got some real difference makers on defense right now.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. And a pass rush. I mean, anytime you can rush the passer from 4 or 5 different spots on the field, I think you have a chance to be a real problem defensively, just because, I mean, just think back to Georgia playing against Texas last year and those Georgia teams in 21. I mean, when you can rush the passer from a number of spots, that really changes your defense, and especially when you have the level of athletes Texas has. I think offensively, though, and I'm going to – Texas fans soon learn, I'm going to take it a little different direction. Not because Arch is going to run with the football, but I think the threat of moving in the pocket and extending plays and moving chains with his feet is going to cause the linebackers to have one step less depth, maybe a step and a half less depth at times this year. And I think that's huge for Sark maximizing the passing game. I think RPO is more dangerous with that. I think the middle is going to be a little more wide open in the intermediate because of that. One of the things I'd say is watch the linebacker depth of drops this year and how the linebackers play Texas versus how they played Texas the last couple of years. So I think that is what you're going to see with Arch's ability to extend a play with his feet, maybe to move the chains. He's not going to be a runner, but just the threat of it, I think, is going to change how the linebackers have to play Texas. And that's going to really open up Sark's offense fully. I think that, along with back shoulder balls and deep balls along the right and left sideline.
I want to say this real quick for folks. Jack injuries, by the way, his final started at Cal today. So he literally probably couldn't have gone if he wanted to actually pass his classes. As far as Emmett Mosley is concerned, last day of classes for him for this semester, May 30th. So that gives you an idea of why maybe those guys did not participate or have not been participating, I don't believe. Jerry, this one from King Me. Besides Texas OSU, which other 1 week games pique your interest?
The big one, and we talked about this morning. This is the best slate of first weekend games I remember in a while. I can tell you which doesn't. Stanford at Hawaii, or Kansas State playing in Dublin, but it's LSU at Clemson. Because look, if that is an interesting game, it's gonna be a tiger on tiger hate fest, by the way. But if Brian Kelly goes in there and gets the doors blown off of him by chance, then he risks the fan base hating his guts, the team question. I mean, that's a tough game. You better play that close and lose if you're LSU, if you don't upset them. And then if you're Clemson, Bobby, if LSU goes in and beats you and you're ranked 1, 2, or 3 and you're getting all this hype preseason, and I'm not saying it's undeserved, but if LSU goes in and beats them, then Clemson is backs against the wall right out of the gate because they're not going to get a lot of credit in the ACC. Now, they can still win the ACC and get to the playoff, but what happens, let's just say, throw this scenario out there. What happens if Clemson loses to LSU in South Carolina next year and loses in the ACC championship game and has 3 losses? Do they get in? Because people are going to be like, hey, they couldn't even beat the SEC teams that didn't even make the playoffs, maybe. Maybe one of those 2 teams does make the playoffs. So that game's really got my attention. The other one is Notre Dame at Miami.
I was going to say the Catholics versus the convicts.
Mario Cristobal better win that game, or they're going to start – the Miami fans are going to start turning on him.
Yeah.
And then the other one is TCU at North Carolina because I don't want to see if Jordan Hudson's wearing a headset.
I want to see – I want to say this. There's some scuttlebutt right now that Bill Belichick, his tenure at North Carolina may not ever get off the ground.
I mean,
based on some stuff going on. If that were to happen, I'm just putting this out there. If that were to happen, all of their players become immediately eligible to transfer.
Oof.
That would be brutal if they fire Bill Belichick or remove him. I mean,
I can't tell you if that interview, Bobby, did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic.
For a guy that's one of the GOATs coaches, that was as bad as it can look for somebody.
Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how that happens. I really don't. I don't know how you let that happen to yourself.
I want to answer Nick's question. Hold on, I got to answer his question.
Oh, where's your Jordan Hudson?
My Jordan Hudson's the number 3 or 4 receiver at SMU. It ain't up to
Justin Yarbrough. How will the staff go about cutting penalties down? They hurt us in too many games last season. 2 particular types of penalties, I thought, false starts and holdings on offense. And then on defense, they got flagged for some pass interference late. Well, I've seen people I've seen people wear mitts to cut down on pass interference penalties. So DBs in practice, they can't grab. They actually have mitts that tape the fingers together so they can't grab. But I mean, other than just better anticipation, I don't know how, or better patience, I don't know how you cut down on false start penalties. I mean, that was a very veteran offensive line. Do you have any ideas how they might cut down on those?
Look, I think Manny Muhammad lost a little confidence late in the year, and it caused him to become, when you start to lose a little confidence, you start to grab, right?
Yep.
So I think he'll bounce back. They got some special teams penalties cleaned up when they took Amari Niblack off the return teams.
A ton of penalties. He and Warren Roberson early were bad.
Somebody said it, but Cam Williams or Jake Majors is good for a false start every game.
And Hayden Connor.
And Hayden. So probably combined 2 false starts a game out of the 3.
Yep.
So look, I think that Here's the flip side, Bobby. Makuba and Barron were so good they didn't commit penalties. And you replace them. Are you going to replace them with guys that they're such good players they don't have to commit penalties? Texas was never really burned a lot last year.
Oh, through the air?
So where it was grab and hold on for your life to save a touchdown.
Very rarely.
The year before they were.
Yeah.
So will you have the same few penalties in your secondary this year versus last year, especially in game one?
So I think the bigger piece actually is going to be something a little different. One of the reasons Texas wasn't hurt by the pass very much last year wasn't just that they had good DBs. They didn't play any quarterbacks that were very good. I mean, Texas, if you don't remember this, I mean, Texas they didn't play any quarterbacks that were really that good until late in the season. And those quarterbacks had some success against Texas. And not great success, but some good success. And so I would caution or hesitate to speak too much about that. But I feel like the quarterbacks this year they face will be better. And because of that, we're going to see more downfield throws and that sort of thing.
Famous Kuda's asked this. I do want to answer this. Non-basketball related, is the NBA the most rigged league? I've always said this about basketball. It's the easiest to change the game if you are nefarious.
Well, they had a referee that point shaved for a decade.
And I think there's more in college basketball than people ever realize. I just do. I mean, it's just my opinion because these games, I mean, look, you can have a couple of turnovers late in the game in the basketball. A guard can turn it over a couple of times late in the game, and suddenly the numbers goes one way or the other, right? Basketball is the easiest sport to have the fix in. But I'm not sitting here saying it is. I'm just saying it's the easiest sport to affect it if you want to.
Maybe I will say this, maybe from a league perspective, it's the most fixable sport. But I want to introduce you to something called horse racing.
Yeah, well, that's different.
All right, last one. Thanks, Justin Yarbrough, and thanks, Justin Yarbrough, for the super chat. Thanks, Famous Scooter, for that question. Last one tonight. Okay, cool. Hook them. Does Derek Carr's retirement and Saints' increased likelihood to get the number one pick impact the chance of Arch entering the draft in 2026? Maybe. What do you think?
I mean, not entering. No chance.
No chance he's entering at all. Man, the opportunity to go home, though, to follow his grandfather, that's a rare opportunity. You got to admit that.
It is, but he's playing 2 years. He's starting 2 years. He's getting 25-plus starts.
Okay. I could agree with that, and I understand the reasoning. I want to take this one.
I think this is because I think we're going to be different on this. This is going to be good.
Bobby, do you think Georgia has a better QB this year? Nick, the answer is no, I don't. And even though Carson Beck played poorly last year, I think a lot of that was his receiving course was. I mean, it's hard. Texas didn't win or beat them either time, but it wasn't because their receivers were any good. I don't think their receivers did them any favor. So I don't think Gunnar Stockton's better than Carson Beck. No, I don't.
This is what makes these shows in the chats fun. I think he's going to be better because the element of athleticism. And
he's athletic.
Yeah, but he's a functional athlete in the college game, and Carson Beck had none of it.
Like Garrett Gilbert was functionally athletic.
No, like poor man's Haynes King athletically.
No, they're not on the same stratosphere.
But I just don't. I just thought. I think they're going to be better because I think he's going to be a better player this year than what they had last year from Carson. Carson Beck was bad last year.
Oh, no, I agree. So but I also think some of those were play.
I think they're going to have better. Like, if you told me Carson Beck was going to play with this Georgia offensive line after losing 4 draft picks, I'd say good luck with that. At least they have mobility this year.
They'll have some,
I think that's,
they have some receivers this year, too. So, all right, that's going to do it for tonight's Talking Ball episode. Thanks again to Dr. Brett Robin for sponsoring over at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. He's taking new patients now. Please give him a shout if you're interested. Jerry Hamilton, thank you for your time. And thank you to all of you for joining us. Hope we got all your recruiting questions answered. We tried to go rapid fire tonight. As a reminder, Jerry Hamilton was over at Chaminade Madonna High School earlier today, visiting with one of the nation's top running backs, Derek Cooper.
I want to see Kendall Derville at Fort Myers tomorrow.
Kendall, that's a big defensive lineman. Jerry's in Florida the rest of this week. Chad Scott, the Texas running backs coach, apparently doing an in-home visit tonight.
And I can update that. Kenny Baker's scheduled to do in-home with James Johnson, the defensive lineman from Northwestern. Mark Orphe scheduled to do in-home with Justice Fitzpatrick tonight. They're Kyle Flood with Roseboro tomorrow and IMG. Texas is flooding the zone in Florida this week. Is what's going on.
All right. Thanks, Jerry, for that little tidbit there at the end. All right. Thank you also to our producer, Matt Hutchinson. You guys have a good night. Hook 'em Horns. We'll see you in the morning.